Hello there folks, TaterCat here. Today I'm going to be doing one of those reviewing a series as a whole, because this is a series that I read online, so I don't know exactly when books cut off and books start, so I will not obviously be reviewing it book by book. I read a lot of series online. This is the first time I'll be reviewing one of the ones that I have read online. And the reason why I wanted to review this one specifically is it's one of the weirder ones. It's not the weirdest one I've read. It's not the worst one I've read. It's just weird. The manga in question is called Namae no Nai Kaibutsu Kumo to Shoujo to Ryoukai Satsujin. It's basically about this guy who's a spider girl appears in his house one day and she just kind of takes control of his life. Obviously, we're introduced to the main character. His name is Reishin Tosaka, but he just goes by Rei. He goes to university and he has a girlfriend named Kyoko Yamashiro and a friend named Junya Akutsu. Yeah, Junya Akutsu. Rei is actually a rather gloomy person. He moved into the town he's going to university at because in his hometown, he's kind of more known for the kid whose brother died, saving him. And the reason why that's a big problem is because everybody loved his brother, including his parents. They played favorites. While it was not said to his face, he did overhear his mom say in the hospital, why I forget what his brother's name, why did he die? Why is Rei the one who lived? And it's like, oh, yeah, that's really what you want to hear from your parents. Like, I already have survivor's guilt. I already know I'm garbage and my brother is better. Now I just know it as a fact. Thanks, Mom. I don't think Rei told them about that trauma, but they do know that he's kind of a generally gloomy person, so they do their best to make sure he's doing fine. You know, just not being miserable. He does have one family member that decided not to be a piece of shit, and that is his uncle named Daisuke Ono. And Daisuke is a detective. His relevance in the story is there's just a bunch of strange murders happening in the town right now, so obviously he's investigating it and checking up on Rei too. Well, one day, like I said, the weird spider girl just kind of shows up in his apartment, and she appears as this high school girl in a black sailor suit, long black hair. She's really pretty. But she also often shows off that, yes, she is in fact a giant spider. She sucks his blood. She leaves weird spider webs all over the place. She is very possessive and doesn't like him leaving. And she just seems to be draining the life out of him, so all of his friends are just like, you okay? I think him and Spider-Girl wind up having a squabble. He manages to get her to leave, so things seem to be going back to normal for a little while. Junya disappears, and Kyoko gets freaked out because one of their fellow classmates, named Shuichiro Todo, who is known for painting pretty graphic, gory, and disturbing paintings, paints one of the crime scenes, so they're just like, oh god, what the fuck is that? I don't know why Rei doesn't just contact his uncle about that, because that's suspicious as hell, but for some reason he decides to go confront Shuichiro on his own. Obviously that's a bad idea. He drinks some drugged tea, wakes up in Shuichiro's studio, only to find a dead, skinned, and disemboweled Junya. So that's a bummer, because I liked Junya, and in typical fashion, the characters I like die. So they think, okay, Shuichiro's the one that killed Junya, right? No. Actually not. He mentioned something about this black-clothed goddess or something, only to find out that he's talking about Kyoko. They bonded because they came across a dead body together, crushed by, like, a tractor shovel, and they just kind of bonded over that. So Kyoko's big masterpiece that she's working on is a painting of, like, there's a windmill and there's trees and a lake and blah blah blah. But it's all made out of blood and different shades of red by grinding up internal organs and skin and whatnot. She even is just like, hey, look, Ray, I have Junya's intestines right here, because she's fucking insane. Well, while Kyoko starts going crazy yandere mode, Spider-Girl comes in and saves the day by just covering Kyoko in spiders. So you think, okay, Kyoko's dead. Good. Bitch is crazy. No. She gets saved by a woman named Shiori Karasawa. On Rei's side, a guy named Louis Myoji shows up at his school and seems to know about the Spider-Girl, and he just kind of shows up at Rei's apartment and says, hi, I'm gonna live with you for 2 weeks. So it's like, the fuck? But you know about the Spider-Girl. Why? What? How? So obvious confusion. There's one point where he's talking about, he gives Rei the idea that Spider-Girl is a vampire, and that's why she's sucking his blood. Except then he tells her, you know what this kind of monster's kryptonite is? Olive oil. I don't know, just olive oil. He later then reveals that though she was born on Earth, the origin of her weird monsterness is an alien. They found, like, she's a product of an experiment of these weird, like, spiders that came from space. It's weird. Oh, it gets weirder, though. It continues to get weird. Daisuke gets abducted by Shiori because, you know, they're trying to they want to kill off the Spider-Girl. So Rei, Spider-Girl, and Louis all go after him, only to reveal Louis is also a spider monster. Because he has to... I think he has to fight off Shiori. So while he's doing that, he tells them, go ahead, I'll catch up with you. We learn some of the history of the professor who ran it. Which, whatever. We learn a little more about the human that was the Spider-Girl. Because what we learn is the big spider form will kill a human and then take the form of that human. We find out that the girl that the spider is masquerading as, her name is Yuko Maibara. And I guess the reason why she wound up pursuing Rei is because she has Yuko's memories of, I guess, having one of those, like, she had a crush on Rei even though it was one of those they never actually talked kind of crushes. And the whole time she was dying, she was just thinking of, I wish I could have seen Rei. One of the other things he learns is all of the, like, feeding on him and whatnot is gradually turning him into one of the weird spider monsters. So the information that Louis leaves it with him is, well, you can either kill her, here's a knife and some olive oil, or you can continue to be with her. Well, he chooses to be with her. They have this really weird, intimate part where she basically tears him to pieces. One of the things is she sucks his eyeball out. Tasty. Then we go, for some reason, into some of Shiori's past. She was also one of the experiment products, so was Lewis. So they know, that's why they know all about the spider stuff. Rei is now a spider person too. They fight off the person from Shiori's past, who's pretty irrelevant. Kyoko fused with this guy. They both get killed. We learn about how Lewis is really connected to all this, is even more connected to this, and that Yuko is his daughter. Bum bum bum. Unfortunately, he dies. Kyoko dies. And since he's not human anymore, he decides to go off into the forest to live with Spider-Girl and Shiori, who's living out the rest of her life because they have short lifespans, because their partners are dead. It's really complicated. And then Yuko says, "Do you want to have a baby together?" And they freak out, and they live happily ever after. The end. It's weird. It's one of those series that I feel like it went a little off the rails. Like I said, it is not the worst thing I've read. I've read some stuff where, like, it started out interesting, and then it went to, what the fuck is even happening? I am still currently reading a series where it started out, okay, this is kind of cool, and is now, I don't even know what's going on. I'm reading this because it is so insane. This one, I kind of wound up giving it a score of 6 out of 10. It's fine. The artwork's nice. The spiders are well drawn. The gore's well drawn. Most of the characters are... like, Kyoko... There's interesting characters, like, Kyoko is just insane. Spider-Girl is not really have much of a personality through the vast majority of the series. Rei is kind of bland. Shiori's creepy for most of it. I liked Lewis, but of course he died too. I liked Junya. I already said he died. I think the reason why I liked Daisuke is because he wasn't a piece of shit who turned his back on his nephew like the rest of Rei's family did. But I can't say he was like one of my favorites. There's not really any characters that stand out specifically to me. They're all fine. Will I ever say that any of these characters will be one of my favorite characters of all time? No. I am entertained by how crazy Kyoko is. But she's ultimately just a serial killer, so... who makes art out of her victims. And I don't mean, like, body parts or bone art, just grind everything up into a pigment. So yeah, 6 out of 10. It's fine. If you want to read it, go ahead. Like I said, the art is good. Just the story goes insane. So yeah. I might do another one of these whenever I finish a series. I might do this on the crazy one that I'm reading right now that I mentioned, but I don't know when that's gonna end, so... This is a completed series. Like, subscribe, and all that noise. I'll see you in the next one, folks. Later.